My next guest's bold calls on commodities landed him in the winner's circle time and time again. Now, legendary investor Jim Rogers is making a bold call on the U.S. dollar, betting that the greenback is due for a near-term rebound, near-term underline. Jim joins me now with an exclusive interview to talk more about global markets and, importantly, where investors can make money around the globe. Great to see you.
Maria, you know, it's interesting. I am long the dollar right now, more than I have been for 2 or 3 months. I'm sure I'm going to lose money because whenever I try to short-term trade or call a market time, I nearly always lose money. So I'm sure I deserve to lose money for trying it again.
Well, wait a minute. I mean, the last time you bet on a short-term rally, you were right. And so
I do get it right sometimes. Sometimes I get it right, but I'm not very good at it.
Why? Yeah, sure. Why do you think that we're going to have a short-term rally in the dollar? What's behind
Everybody's
this thing?
pessimistic. Do you know anybody bullish on the dollar? I'm pessimistic too.
Yeah.
Everybody's pessimistic, and that's why there might be a rally.
What turns it around? I mean, longer term, you're still worried about deficits. You're still worried about the debt that this country has, right? I mean, you think
gigantic spending in Washington, incompetence in Washington, where they don't know what's going on. They're making our situation worse. I see nothing to turn the dollar around.
What do you mean incompetence in Washington? Where's the most incompetence? What would you like to see done differently?
Well, you know what I'd like to see done different. I'd like to see abolish the Fed, and then they could all resign. Maybe we better abolish the Treasury Department the way things are going right now. Maria, the Federal Reserve has tripled its balance sheet full of garbage, which you and I are going to have to pay for, and everybody watching this show. They have gone out and printed gigantic amounts of money. Why do we want the Fed? They're making the situation disastrous for all of us.
So I guess you don't think Bernanke should be reconfirmed?
Oh, please. You're bad for my nervous system. Of course not.
Okay, what about Tim Geithner? I mean, Treasury as well has been putting out all of this stimulus, and now they're talking about extending the TARP program.
Maria, Mr. Geithner is a very smart person, so I understand, but he's been wrong about everything for the last 15 years. Why are we listening to Mr. Geithner? Why are we listening to any of those guys down there? They're making our situation worse. They said in writing yesterday, the solution to our problem is to spend more money to spend us out of this. I mean, that's what got us into this problem. Too much debt, too much consumption, and now we're going to solve it with more debt and more That's like saying to Tiger Woods, you get another girlfriend and you'll solve your problems. Or 5 more girlfriends and you'll solve your problems.
You know, it really is extraordinary that the one way we actually got into this, all this debt and leverage, is the one way that, you know, the president said it the other day. President Obama said, we have to spend our way out of a recession. He said it.
I said it out loud. I know. Would you believe grown-ups would say something like that? Well, he did. It's making the situation worse. We're going to all pay the price for this in 1 or 2 or 3 years. This is the next time we have problems in the economy, which will be not too long. We don't have any bullets left. We've shot everything we have to solve our problems. What are they going to do? Quadruple the debt again? Print more money? We don't have any trees left. So we're running out of trees.
So what are the major implications? Now, I want to ask you about Dubai. I want to ask you about Greece as well as Spain. Are you worried about the debt crisis going there? And tell me how this manifests itself. In fact, we are going to see implications.
Well, Maria, we're going to have more currency turmoil. We're going to have currency crisis or semi-crisis. You already see Vietnam devalued last week. Brazil put on special taxes for currencies. You're seeing what's happening in Dubai. Greece is in trouble. Ukraine, Argentina, there are plenty of people that we can put to the list. Spain, Ireland. No, we're going to have currency turmoils. We're going to have more debt problems. And in the meantime, all everybody's done is printed money. And then what are they going to do when these problems really start giving us great turmoil?
The sovereign debt fears really are growing. S&P put Spain on debt negative watch. Fitch cut its rating on Greek sovereign debt. Yesterday, David Patterson in New York does a press conference called Saving New York from Insolvency.
New York is insolvent. What's the matter with Mr. Patterson? But listen, they put the U.S. on debt watch. They put the U.K. on debt. We all are in serious trouble. And, I mean, in Asia, they're still creditors. In the West, unfortunately, we're debtors.
All right, so how do I invest in an environment where all of this gloom and doom and these headlines keep coming at me?
Well, you asked about, you talking about gold before. I own gold, as you know, but I'm not buying gold. I wouldn't buy gold. I mean, gold shot up. And whenever something shoots up, it probably will go down for a while. So if gold goes down some more, I hope I'm smart enough to buy some more. Other commodities are probably better, silver, agriculture. But also, I urge you to learn about foreign currencies because they're going to be great opportunities.
What currency, if I don't want to own the dollar, what's the best foreign currency right now to own?
Well, as I said, I think there might be a rally in the dollar, but I hope I'm smart enough to sell that dollar, that rally. If it happens, I will probably buy, well, today I would buy yen or Swiss francs or Canadian dollars. That's where I'd start.
Okay.
That's where I'd start.
And because
if I had to
And you're not worried about those economies? I mean,
I'm
Japan,
worried about all.
I mean, you're going to buy the
Maria,
yen
Maria,
where Japan is.
I'm worried about all economies, especially paper money. Paper money throughout the world is being printed everywhere. So all paper money is suspect. We may have to wind up with all of our money in commodities because there is no paper money that we can trust.
I got to go through some of these investment ideas with you one by one. So let me first focus on gold. So you're saying, look, you own gold. You're not going to buy more gold right now because of the level that it is, but you're not going to sell it, is basically the point.
Wouldn't think of selling.
Okay, you wouldn't think of selling. So,
but if gold goes to 1,000, I pick a number, I hope I'm smart enough to buy more.
Okay. So do you think the fact that the India Central Bank, Mauritius, you're seeing a different buyer recently, does that change the gold story, or is this, what's behind this move, or is it
Maria,
just the dollar hedge?
Until last year, central banks around the world were selling gold. Now you have the opposite. They've stopped selling and they're starting to buy as well. That's a huge shift in the gold market, and many other people are worried about paper money as well. So I think gold will certainly go to a couple $1,000s over the next decade. I mean, that's not a very radical assumption. That's only 4, 5, 6% a year. It would have to go up. So I'm sure gold will be a great investment over the next decade.
And you said you like silver.
I'd rather own silver than gold. I own both right now, but silver is 70% below its all-time high. Gold is near its all-time high. So buy silver, buy palladium.
Yeah. What about copper and things that are tied to the global economy, which, of course, you're concerned about?
Well, I am, but I think I'd rather buy agriculture, just because agriculture is still so depressed. I mean, I own copper and the others, but I don't, copper's way up.
Yeah.
I don't like to buy things that are way, way up. So
how do I buy agriculture right now? Am I doing this through a fund? I mean, tell me what the strategy is for agriculture.
If you're good at it, you can buy agricultural futures. If you're not, you can buy indexes. There are plenty of indexes that trade right here on the New York Stock Exchange. Agricultural indexes, you can buy. If you know good stocks, buy stocks. But Maria, become a farmer. That's what you should do. I've been trying to get you to become a farmer.
I like
Go learn to drive a tractor.
Yeah, I know, but look, I understand what you're saying, because I think that there are food shortages everywhere, and is that on the back of
inventories of food are the lowest they've been in decades.
Yeah.
Not years, decades. We have a shortage of farmers even.
What about water, Jim? Do you like water?
Water's a fabulous opportunity, spectacular opportunity.
How do I get into water?
Well, that's the hard part. There are companies in Asia which are dealing with the water problem. There's some here, but none of them are terribly cheap, at least not in the West. But there are water companies that are trying to deal with the problems. India has a horrible water problem. China does.
China too, right?
Yeah, go to the Southwest. In America, we have water problems too. Let's find a way to solve the problem, and you'll be very rich.
So it's really, once again, this commodities. You have been so right on this commodities call for so many years. What turns this around?
Eventually, prices will go up a great deal, a huge amount, and you'll become a farmer. You're going to learn to drive a tractor.
When I become a farmer, it means sell.
At least you will be in the pits in Chicago, in the agricultural pits in Chicago. That's when it'll be time to sell agriculture.
From an individual investor standpoint, I mean, how's the easiest way to get into some of these investment trends you're talking about?
Well, the easiest way for most of them is to buy ETFs or ETNs, because they do trade here. Most people don't know about futures. Most people are not going to become farmers, no matter how much I bet you. You're not going to do it. Or currency. There are ETFs on currencies that trade right here on the New York Stock Exchange. There's some. Some of them. They trade on you can call up your broker and buy currencies. Do you own the commodities producer? Let me get to equities now. I do not. Do you own any stocks? Would you put any money in the U.S. market right now? No. I mean, the U.S. market's up 70% in the last 8 or 10 months. No. I don't like to buy anything like that. I'm skeptical of the economy going forward. And if the world economy gets better, commodities are going to be a great place because there are shortages developing. Maria, if the world economy doesn't get better, they're printing a lot of money. That's always good for real assets. And if the world economy doesn't get better, they're going to print a lot more money. So commodity, real assets are the place to be. Do you think we're seeing a bubble in some of these emerging markets? I mean, I know, you're living in Singapore, you are traveling all around, and you have seen the Asia growth story on the ground, and it is really alive. But people say, too much money has moved into these emerging markets, and it's a bubble. What do you think? I sold all of my emerging markets 2 years ago, except China. But then they went down. They've come back up, but it's not a bubble yet. I mean, the Chinese economy is 1/10 the size of Europe and Asia. That's not a bubble. There'll be a bubble in China. There'll be bubbles in Brazil and other places, but not at the moment. Are you buying Brazil? Don't own. I'm not buying any stocks right now because everything has gone up so much. But just because they may be too high, but that's different from a bubble. I mean, something can be too high priced, but a bubble is when everybody is buying it, and that's all people talk about.
A lot of people are feeling that way about gold right now.
Well, you know, I spoke in Prague last week. 300 people in the room, big money managers, and we did a little survey. We had those buttons you press.
Yeah.
How many of you have ever owned gold? 76% had never owned gold.
I believe it.
So, I mean, so when you say it's a bubble, I mean, nobody owns
right.
gold
That's a good
yet.
point.
And they don't, much less soybeans, much less pork bellies. Oh, no, 76% had never owned gold.
Where do you think is the most important place to avoid right now? I mean, is it the stock market? Or
United
is it
States
something
bond market.
U.S. bond
Long-term
market?
government bond market. That's
Why?
the next bubble. Why? I mean, would you lend money to the United States government for 30 years at 4% or 5% in U.S. dollars? Oh, Maria.
This is such a great way and such a simple way to put it, Jim.
Well, I mean,